Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second snap take of the day for this wonderful Monday. We've got our first change in Spotlight Cache coming up later tonight, which means that things are changing. So, we're going to review how to plan, what the optimal things to do are, and I'm going to tell you what other content creators are getting wrong about this planning process right now, because I think all of my friends, and I know almost everyone at this point, are making a big mistake in giving advice for Spotlight caches right now. And I don't think that mistake is malicious. I think that mistake is a lack of foresight for one particular missing piece of information. Maybe more than one, but one that I think is really important. Our friends Lauren Whatever and Carolus have released this handy infographic to how to get more cards. This new system is all about planning. We're going to review that one more time for the review. We're going to talk about Echo and Iron Lad. We're going to talk about the rest of July, August, and September's new cards. We're going to do that all in this extra special Snap Take. But before we do that, if you're willing, please hit that subscribe button. What we do on this channel is we bring you 2 brand new decks every single weekday to help you stay ahead of the Marvel Snap meta. In addition to that, we do the biggest Marvel Snap Season Pass giveaway. So if you'd like to get that Marvel Snap Season Pass, this will be an amazing way to do so. Hit that sub. Don't miss out. If you are subbed, hit me with that like and comment. Help me with the YouTube algo. We'd super appreciate it. The algorithm is difficult to work with sometimes, but those likes and comments really, really do help. All right, I'm going to run you through this real fast. This is from Lauren Whatever and Carolus. They both released this nice little way to optimize how to get more cards. First, only open Spotlight caches when you could open 4 in a row. There's going to be no worse feeling in Marvel Snap than having 3, opening for 3, and finding out that the card you really want is in the last one. Stop opening Spotlight caches as soon as you've received every reward you wanted. Spend tokens on Series 4 cards. When doing so, would let you skip a week of opening Spotlight caches. Prioritize weeks where the Spotlight features 2 or 3 desired rewards over weeks with just 1, where possible. And the later in collection you are, the harder that's going to be. Spend gold on Token Tuesdays or bundles with better gold to token ratios. And a reminder that Marvel Snap Zone has that breakdown for you about every bundle. Carolus just did on the bundles tab of Marvel Snap Zone all the upcoming bundles we know about. There aren't that many that are great, but we do have all that info. I'm not going to go over Spotlight variants. I appreciate that many of you want Spotlight variants. That's not what this channel is about. We're about progression. We're about hitting infinite. We're about helping you hit your goals for the game. I appreciate that y'all want Spotlight variants. If you want them, you're either going to have to choose between spending or missing out on cards. It's fundamentally how that's going to work. All right. A lot of people are saying, buy Echo. Echo is going to be amazing. Don't buy Echo. Echo is going to be terrible. Straight up, please, unless you have an abundance of saved Spotlight caches, an abundance of saved tokens, do not immediately start opening for Echo. There's no downside in waiting. There is a really, really big gulf between how good a lot of players think Echo is going to be. And while we won't have that gulf by Friday fully solved, we should have some idea of how good the card is. So unless you're like dying for Echo, you're like a huge Echo fan, or you want it for some other reason, and from pure progression, don't rush to open Echo. But by the way, is a 1/2 that when an opponent plays a card in her location, it loses its ongoing ability. So you can play ongoings there, they can. It's really great for like Wong combos and making sure your Valkyrie goes off and stuff like that. But it's a 1/2, and a lot of 1/2s end up like Ghost or Howard, where like they seem cool, but they don't actually do a whole lot. Now, there's one caveat to not necessarily opening for Echo. I think that's if you don't have Iron Lad. Iron Lad goes in a lot of the best decks in the game. If you are playing Darkhawk decks, if you like the Darkhawk playstyle and you have all the other cards, Iron Lad goes in a lot of those decks. And Iron Lad is in a lot of the better current Thanos builds. If that's your style, you might really want Iron Lad. The opportunity to get Echo and Iron Lad, if you have the caches, is probably good enough to start opening caches for. Almost regardless of how good Echo is, because Echo is a Series 5 card, so it's going to be an expensive card. It makes perfect sense. If you'd like another take, if you'd like more decks for this, right here on Marvel Snap Zone, we have a whole article by our friend Canadian Alfredo, I believe, going over, Canadian Alfredo, going over all the different decks and all the different stuff you can do with Echo and Iron Lad. So again, that's not an unreasonable thing to do if you want Iron Lad. Kang is terrible. Please do not go for Kang. Kang, until he's buffed, is not a card worth getting. But if you want Iron Lad, I don't see Iron Lad dropping anytime soon, and you also happen to think Echo is going to be good, I can see opening caches for them. Part of the reason for that is the rest of July. The rest of July features 2 Series 4 cards. You almost never, you almost never want to start opening 4 Series 4 cards, because if you were buying them in the token shop, they cost half price, right? So you're getting half the value in opening them in a cache as opposed to a token shop. The cards for the next 2 weeks are Legion, a 5/8 that turns every location at the location he's played at, and Mirage, a 2/2, which copies the lowest card in an opponent's hand with +2 power. Both are good cards. Both should be, if you want them, token purchases. The one exception is High Evolutionary and Darkhawk. If you don't have either, I can absolutely see opening the Legion caches. If you're dying for Thanos, I can see opening the Mirage and Thanos caches. But generally speaking, these should be weeks that you're planning to skip, that you're planning to hold on for, and with no new card, unless you, again, dying for Galactus, Nimrod, or Spider-Ham, this is another week you should be planning on not opening. That gives you a lot of time to save up. And the reason I think you're going to want to save up is that I think that the month of August is going to be absolutely stellar. Let's take a quick look. Let's move on over to the August releases. First, we know the August 3rd releases are going to be Galactus, Nimrod, Spider-Ham. Galactus is the only card in the game I don't have, although in a few hours from now, I also won't have Echo because I am not opening Echo right away. If Echo turns out to be busted, we'll know relatively quickly, right? People will immediately know, and I can go back and figure out how to open for Echo or spend tokens on Echo at that point. There's no point in doing it day one. I want to emphasize that unless you're also lacking Iron Lad. So this is the Galactus, Nimrod, Spider-Ham. Again, Spider-Ham's a Series 4, Nimrod's a Series 4. Unless you're dying for Galactus, please don't open. Let this be when you save. Cool? Let's get to the big problem, because the big problem starts right here. This is Lady Deathstrike. Lady Deathstrike, Modok on Stature. That's 2 Series 4 cards with Lady Deathstrike. Lady Deathstrike is an on reveal, destroy each card here with less power than this, which means that it's going to destroy all 2 in 1, but you can potentially pump its strength with something like Shuri and destroy everything 5 power or less. There's a lot of very cool and very interesting things you can do by pumping Lady Deathstrike's power and letting her absolutely wreck things. I think she's going to be good. She is my least favorite of the cards coming out this month, but I think she's going to be good and potentially worth opening for. We're leading into the problem, though. As of Datamines, Lady Deathstrike is releasing into Series 5. So is everything for the month of August. Is that true? We don't know. We have no idea what this is going to cost. So it's fundamentally impossible to give accurate advice coming out of July. And that's where I think a lot of my content creator friends are messing up, because they're trying to give the best advice they can. They're being completely honest with this good advice. Stature's a good card. Modok opens up a discard archetype and Deathstrike seems strong. This might be a week you want to open. But it wouldn't shock me if Deathstrike was a Series 4 card. And if she is a Series 4 card, with 3 Series 4 cards, you should absolutely not be opening this week. Let's wait and see what series this card is before we give hard advice, although that Deathstrike and that Stature variant are both gorgeous. Next up, we have X23, along with Silk and Nebula. I don't think Silk is very good, but she's Series 5. Nebula is Series 5. Hopefully you bought her. And X23, when this is discarded or destroyed, regenerate at a random location, and you get +1 energy next turn. Unless Cosmo and Armor go big in the meta, this is the exact card that your heavy destroy archetypes need. If you've been playing heavy duty destroy, you'll realize you're often 1 energy short of doing everything you want. X23 being played on 1 instead of probably Nova in most of those builds gives you the energy to do what you want, especially in the Deadpool versions. The meta changing will shape how good X23 is. If Cosmo and Armor are anywhere, X23 is going to be bad, and it doesn't really matter. that's not the case, it's going to be good. But again, what series is this card? That it's coming out with 2 other Series 5 cards suggests that this might be the Series 4 card for the month, right? If all 3 are Series 5, I'm going to be very annoyed. We're going to do another video where we're like, what is happening, second dinner? But for the time being, X23 is a card I badly want. I would much rather buy it with tokens. Again, I have Silk and Nebula, right? So I would much rather buy X23 with tokens if it's a Series 4. And I'm assuming, because there's 2 other Series 5 here, that that's what's going to happen. But we don't know. So it's extremely hard to plan. In full disclosure, I'm not the content creator program right now. I've got every requirement needed. They're just not really letting people in right now. They haven't replied to anybody. A lot of my friends are apparently asking for me to be let in so I can actually try and ask this kind of thing, because I think this is what's needed. They released this new system where we have to plan. They have to give us the information to plan. They have to let us help you, let us help ourselves with this, and it helps Second Dinner by building that good relationship with the audience, knowing that they can get the cards they want by planning well. All right, let's keep going. The last card for the week of August, I think, is secretly going to be the best. This is for the week of August, for the month of August. It is Silver Samurai with Kitty Pryde and Spider-Man 2099. I'm going to be shocked if this isn't a Series 5 card, because it's coming out with Spider-Man 2099 and Kitty Pryde. Kitty Pryde they gave to everyone who was playing at the time for free, as most of you probably know, and Spider-Man 2099 is famously the second Series 4 they ever released direct into, which means that both of these cards are really easy to get. Spider-Man 2099 is also good, but a little underwhelming. Meanwhile, Silver Samurai seems absolutely insane. 4/5, each player discards the lowest power card from their hand. 1, that's Incredible Dakin, who puts a 1-drop in your hand that doubles his strength when it's discarded. Seems good. Also good with the previous week's X23, which is going to discard X23, put her on the board, and give you +1 energy next turn. It's going to work really, really well with Stature. And as a 4 cost, it fits in a lot of those Stature Darkhawk builds, like the classic Safety Blade version that was running. I believe Cam Best made it famous with the like stats.com, whatever name, where it's like Stature Darkhawk and then Black Bolt to make the Stature cheap on the last turn for a lot of variety. Silver Samurai gives you an extra enabler for that. That's also made cheaper by Zabu. I have like all the confidence in the world in this card. I'm getting this card one way or another. It's part of why I'm going to hoard for the rest of July, because I want to make sure that if Silver Samurai and X23 are both Series 5, I can actually have caches for them both. Now, Deathstrike I think is going to be good, but I'm not nearly as convinced. It might actually be good in like Thanos decks, but again, I'm not in any way, shape, or form sure of this. I think that's going to be more of a wait and see situation. All right, we are done, and now I want to talk about our last month. We are on to September. Again, many of you want Jeff. You should already have Ghost Spider. If you don't, Ghost Spider is fine, but like not incredible. Null, this is his second time appearing. He is the first card to appear twice in these caches, so if you didn't get him in the week that's ending now, you'll have another chance. I also generally assume that in September is when we're about to start getting series drops again. October at absolute latest, and I'm guessing because Null is appearing twice, he's going to drop. So I would keep that in mind. I think Jeff is probably worth getting. Like, Jeff is one of the better cards and more versatile cards in the game, and he goes into so many decks. Much like I talked about Iron Lad, Jeff might be worth getting even if you have these other cards, but I'd be wary for that. I'd be wary because I think it's worth being careful unless you really didn't like those previous cards. And again, we have the same problem. That Jeff variant is also phenomenal. That's Ghost Spider is phenomenal. That Null is phenomenal. These are gorgeous cards. All right, next up we have Alioth. Alioth is going to release the week of September 12th. We don't know the full caches here, but people have been reviewing these cards left and right, and I'm going to complain about that too. We're also going to go back and complain about Loki, who I'm going to just tell you what he does. You know what? We'll complain about Loki another day. We'll talk about the actual season pass cards. We've got the whole week. We'll do that later. I want to talk about Alioth. Alioth is a 5/5 that destroys all enemy cards played here this turn, including unrevealed cards. And everyone who has reviewed this has said this is the best card in the game. The second it releases, it's completely overpowered. It's unbalanced. This isn't going to make sense. This isn't a Series 5 card. My head will explode. I wish it weren't, but whatever. I also can in no way see this card being released this way. Playing this on turn 6 with Kitty Pryde, for example, is just like an auto win. Kitty goes somewhere, goes big, Alioth goes another place, and as long as you are down by 4 or less, it basically auto wins that lane. It's too good. Alioth is just too good. I would bet literally anything this card is not printed the way it is, so reviewing it at this power level seems really, really questionable at this exact point. All right, Rivona Renslayer, 3/3. Your cards with 1 or less power cost 1 less to a minimum of 1. Thank goodness it has that minimum 1. Curious how this works with ongoing cards, because some of the ongoing cards, like Null, show their power in the hand before they're revealed. Are they going to get 1 cheaper? If so, then Rivona Renslayer is going to be really, really strong. And if not, I think she's going to be more niche. But look, an auto 3 cost negative, an auto 3 cost Darkhawk, all these cards end up really, really good that way. Iron Man being 4, a lot of cards are balanced in that way. She seems like she's probably good. Our problem is not whether she's good or not. Our problem is, how do we plan for her if we don't know what she's released at and what series she's coming out? Instead, as you're planning for her, start planning to have at least 3,000 tokens if you want her really badly, right? What I urge you to do is to plan to have A, 3,000 tokens, and B, in addition to having 3,000 tokens and enough caches to open, make sure that you have an understanding of how she works. Developers, Glenn in particular, is famous for refusing to answer questions about cards that are only data mined. So we don't know exactly how it works. If this doesn't work with cards like Null, I think it's a severe hit. That's not going to be the case. I'm not sure that this is in any way going to be really a playable good card. So you need to know that before you can really plan for it. This is why reviewing cards this far out is such a challenge, because we're not sure how they work. And that's really exemplified by the last card of the September season, which is Mobius M. Mobius. I thought it was Michael M. Mobius, but apparently I don't know his name properly. This is a 2/3. Your cost can't be increased and your opponent's cost can't be reduced, which destroys Sarah basically no matter what, right? But this is either unplayable or freaking busted. And that entire answer relies on Wave. We have no idea. Wave at this point overrides everything else in the game. It is the priority. If Wave says it costs 4, no matter what has happened to it, that card costs 4. But what if it started as costing 2? Its cost can't be increased. Maybe that card stays at a 2. And your opponent's cards can't be reduced. Fine, right? That would also ruin their stuff. That would keep their 6s as 6s. So those early Wave ramp plays wouldn't work. That would be incredibly powerful, right? That seems like it's kind of busted. It seems like it can win you an awful lot of games of Marvel Snap. But Wave overrides everything, and we have no idea how good this card is. This card ranges from Ghost level to Jeff level or higher, right? And that we don't know that means giving advice this early when we can't know that, and planning for that is really, 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 really difficult. So please don't think that you have to know. I know you have to start planning, but you need to start conditionally planning and figuring out to what extent you need to save for these cards if they become meta. And we're going to have to figure out, content creators, I'm calling on you. We are going to have to figure out a way to get second dinner too with this new system. Give us better information, or this new system is going to be a massive feel bad to an extent that I don't think they're prepared for. So that is my fundamental review of these cards, but really it's my review of the new Spotlight Cash system and my advice, why that advice is so hard to give. I'm mostly doing this video to urge you to take all of these advice, including my own, outside of that very first slide, outside of the very first advice slide from Lauren. Outside of this slide, I want every other piece of advice that you take to be taken with an absolute grain of salt. Planning is going to be difficult for anything more than this month. Right now, what I want you to focus on, if at all possible, is if I really think that that Echo is going to be amazing and I need Iron Lad, I should open this week. If I need Darkhawk and High Evolutionary, then I should be opening that week. If not, then I should be saving for August. Having more caches is only a benefit to you. Getting these cards later is going to be frustrating. I know, especially if you don't have the token saved up. It's still better to need these cards later as they're not meta if you don't need the second card in the cache, assuming that you've been opening to this point. Again, unless there's a card that you think is going to make you so happy it overrides anything else. Be careful, plan well, stay tuned here, and I'll continue to update you and give you my very best advice. Thanks so much for watching. I'll be back tomorrow morning with 2 more decks. Don't forget to sub. Have a great rest of your day. Peace.